Let's get started. Okay, everyone, welcome back to Breslov Efrat here at Shirat, Dovid, Baruch Hashem. And today's exciting. We're starting a new halacha, halacha hey. So it's Likutey Halachos Hilchos Tzitzis, halacha hey. All right, now so we just finished learning Dalit, Baruch Hashem, Haidul Hashem Kitay. And we learned that lesson was based on Likutey MoHaran, lesson Ches. Okay, and that was regarding, we learned the whole concept of the sai, of the krechs, right? And how you could be mashlim things, you could fulfill things by giving that krechs, and how that's connected to tziztit. Oh, beautiful lessons. Today we're going to see another lesson. This is based on lesson 8 in Tinyana. So it's lesson 8 in Likutey MoHaran we did last week. Yesterday we finished it, and today we're doing lesson 8 in Likutey MoHaran Tinyana. Now this Torah is called this Torah is called Tiku B'Chodesh Shofar. Okay, it's one of the Torahs that Rabbi Nachman gave on Rosh Hashanah. Okay, what that he gave on Rosh Hashanah. Now, just as a little hakdama to the Torah, where the Rebbe is talking about there, that it's really a mitzvah upon everyone to haichiach es a mesacha, right? If you see someone doing something wrong, you have to tell them that they're making a mistake, right? But he said that not everybody is worthy of giving teichach. He brings the Gemara. Rabbi Akiva said that Rabbi Akiva was wondering if in his generation there was anyone that can give teichacha properly. It was Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was wondering. So he explains really the whole problem with the teichacha and how it works, and because he said that when you have somebody did something wrong, right, and you have he gives the example, if you have some excrement that was just lying there. You don't touch it, it's okay. But if you go over, you start to move it, it starts to smell. Exactly. So, listen. So he said that's the example that he gives with someone's sin, right? Because it's also it has a putrid odor. The Averis, if we understood that, we can't really identify with that. If we could, life would be a little bit different. So he says that the problem is that when you want to give someone teichacha, you don't want to bring them down. You don't want to bring them down. It's the same way when a person is doing is involved in his baidus with the Rabbeinu Shalom, right? So sometimes the whole idea of his baidus is to bring a person up, right? In other words, you don't want to give necessarily, a person has to know what level they're in themselves, to know if they're going to start talking about things in their own life that they did wrong and they're not ready to talk about it, it may knock them down. It may not lift them up. The whole idea of his baidus, the whole idea of teichacha is to lift the person up, not to knock them down. That's the important thing that we have to understand. It's never to knock someone down. It's only to raise them up, bring them closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not to bring them or take them away. So far, so good? Okay. So he said, but there are tzaddikim, like he gives the example of Moshe Rabbeinu that knew how to give teichacha. Moshe Rabbeinu knew how to give teichacha when it came to the Egel Azov. He brings that example in the lesson, right? When it came to the Egel Azov, Moshe Rabbeinu was able to give the proper teichacha, and he didn't cause damage via giving the teichacha. He caused a lot of good, and that's what it is when the tzaddikim can do that. So that we really have to understand that. Well, we'll see. Let's see how this is lesson hey is actually very long. There's almost 30 letters in it. Okay, so this is going to go on for some time. As we go on, we'll explain more. But let's just get started. Okay, so we have a little hakdama based on what the Torah is. Now, Torah Ches is also a long Torah. And any of the Torahs that Rabbi Nachman said on Rosh Hashanah were very complicated. They were very, very complicated. Okay, so here we go. So, Inyan Tzitzis al pi Torah tiku, right? Belakutei Tinyana Simin Ches, Ayin Sham Kol Torah Hativ, Mitchilasai V'Laseifa. So study the Torah, know the Torah, because if you do know the Torah, you'll understand what I'm bringing, because Rab Nosson is going to be drawing now this lesson, Halacha Hey and Tzitzis, from that Torah. Okay? Understand it? Okay. Now, Rebbe starts off here, Aleph. This is an idea of tzitzis. Teichacha. Right? Tzitzis is teichacha. Why? Ki tzitzis hu bechinas hachut shel chesed shenikla v'nishzar min hashivim ushtayim ne'imim shaleim nisnagin hashir shel chesed sheyaser la'asid. So we know that Dovid HaMelech had a kinar, right? And we know that there's going to be a kinar that in the end of time there's going to be a kinar with 72 strings. There's going to be such a kinar with 72 strings. That's the chut. That'll be the chutim shel chesed. All right, and that's going to be the shir shel chesed. And that's going to be the shir that's going to be singing in the time of when the Mashiach is going to come. All right? Shezeh kol hamashkes hagan, and that is the sound that gives irrigation to the gan. Okay, the gan.
Kina is
a harp. Yes, a harp. Oh, I didn't say that. I'm sorry. I didn't translate. I said kina, but I didn't translate. I apologize. Okay. Shehem gedelim kol hayirois v'chol hareichos. That garden that we spoke about, we learned about this garden many times, right? We're talking about the garden of Gan Eden. In that garden over there, there are gedelim kol hayirois v'chol hareichos. There's a lot of beautiful things growing over there. Shayidei hakol hazeh daika yovay hamaychiach lohichiach es Yisrael v'lo yikalkol b'toichachtoi. And that's, you have to connect to the next world. And you have to understand the words that you're going to be using. To give the teichacha to the person, you have to take it not from this world. Not, again, we keep learning this concept, we have to be lamala min hamokim. Right? And we have to go back and the Rebbeinu Shalom is Makai Mai Shalayla. Because you need all of these lessons to understand this. In other words, if you approach somebody in this world and you see the person's doing something wrong and out of anger you approach the person, it's never going to work. But if you understand that really, like we learned, that this person's in the middle of his Yerida, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with this person in that Yerida, and he's guiding him through that Yerida. If we understand that, so then when you give the Teichacha to the person, it's a little bit different, because you understand the context and you'll try to do it. Now, just a side note is, anytime you'll try to give, if you see anyone doing anything wrong, a good way to do it is never direct it at the person itself. In other words, let's say you see a person is doing something wrong. So never say to the person, by the way, this thing you did is wrong. Why? Because the person's defense will right away be activated, his own defenses, and he won't be able to listen to what you're saying. Adarabah, he'll be upset that you're even telling him anything that he did wrong. But, huh?
He will start thinking.
Yeah, in his mind anyway, right? But if you can go over to the person and say like this, I just learned something really interesting I want to share with you. I just learned something. I just learned something, and wow, and I just wanted to share it. It's so exciting to me. I want to share with you. And you don't tell the person anything about himself. You say, what I learned this. So then the person can come to perceive it on his own. That can be something interesting. Then the person thinks he's he thinks he's so smart that he figured this thing out, which is good. Who cares? The main thing is you want to get the guy to guide him on the right way. That's all we're trying to do. Whatever tactics you can use them. Okay? So basically, this is what we're saying over here, that in other words, if you can connect to the call, to that call, it's going to be of the shir of chesed. That's going to be in the time of Mashiach, when we understand that it's all Hashem. It'll be clear to us. It'll be clear to us that everything is Hashem. Now it's not so clear. Now we don't see it. But it's going to be clear. So if we can tap into that now, so then that can be a successful thing. So if you can give it with a sweet voice, you can say it over in a sweet way, and you say it over in a loving way. That's the main thing. See, Moshe Rabbeinu, when Moshe Rabbeinu gave the Teichacha, don't forget, Moshe Rabbeinu, he was mamish connected to the Rabbeinu Shalom in a way that he understood that the Rabbeinu Shalom is Mekai Moshe Shalom. He understood it so well. So when Moshe Rabbeinu would talk to somebody, give Teichacha, he gave it in a sweet, delightful way. And that's how it can possibly work. And now he brings the example. Shaychichan al Ma'aseh Egel. Moshe Rabbeinu had to give the Teichacha on the Ma'aseh Egel. Again, we did something, it was one of the worst things we did, right? It was one of the worst things we did. And Moshe Rabbeinu was able to give the Teichacha. Shayidei Teichach le'hoisif and nasa b'hem reach toiv. He gave them a reach toiv. Not only did he not make a putrid odor coming from it, but he gave over a very nice fragrance. A fragrance came from it. You see the opposite? The opposite. Now, in other words, we're saying that if you give it in the wrong way, saying you're stirring up the excrement and it makes that odor. But now this is on the rab. When you can do it in the right way, you're not only going to give a bad odor, a putrid odor, you're going to give a sweet odor. Bechinas nerdi nosan reach. Look at this. As it says in Shira Shirim, nerdi is, what's that? The naft. It gives a reach. It gives. Nosan reach. Azav, loy nemar, ela nosan. It doesn't say azav, that it's coming, it's giving over. It's giving over. You understand the difference? In other words, it's not that it's coming from it, it's giving over to it. So in other words, that's what we're saying here. When Moshe Rabbeinu was able to give that teichacha in such a way, he gave over something sweet. It was something delightful. It was something good. Ayin Shem calls the hatev. That's it. Okay, now. Umeachut shel chesed hazeh nimshach or chutei hatzitzis hakedoshim. Look at this. From that chut of chesed, that chut of being able to give the teichacha in that way, that's going to be connected to the 72 strings on the harp of the Shir La'asid. Via doing that, via that chut hazeh nimshach or chutei hatzitzis hakedoshim. It gives the light to our chutim of our tzitzis. Our tzitzis is so bright, they're so beautiful. Ki chutei hatzitzis bichlalam oilim shivim ushtayim. Wait a second, you say to me, tzitzis goes up to 72? Really? How does tzitzis go up to 72? Watch. Rav Nassan's so nice. He's going to give us the math now. You see? Watch this. Come over. Ki heim shleishim ushnayim chutim l'chol chut kafel. Okay, so each chut that's kafel is 32. Mishnayim. Right? Kafel mishnayim, that's double. Ki trichen liya shizurim, because they have to be twisted, right? We always know that, right? So you have 4 long strings that are 8. Then we take the 8 and we take them and we make them into 16, right? But the 16 becomes 32.
Because each one is 2?
Is 2. Okay. Each one is 2. Shizurin, they're what do you call it? They're wound. Each one is at least 2. Ushnei pamim shloishim ushnayim. And if you take 2 times 32, hu shishim v'arba. That's 64. V'ashmayna chutim ba'atzmam. And the 8 strings by themselves, sacha kol oile shivim ushtayim keminyan chesed. Come to the minion of chesed. So how does he know this? Chesed, what's the gematria of chesed? 72. So the tzitzis is 72. Last week we learned that tzitzis was 49. Remember we learned last time was 49 with the knots and the twists and the winds, right? Now we're learning about the strings themselves. Okay, chesed. Hainu ki chutei hatzitzis nimshach kedushasa me'or hachut shel chesed, because the tzitzis is connected to the or of the chut shel chesed, and chesed's gematria is 72. Shenilka v'nishzar mishivim ushtayim ni'imim. that's coming from the 72 strings. Shem bechinas ha-sitron shaleim yisnage nashir shel chesed shel osid. And this is what the song that's going to be sung of the time of future. So again, if I can connect myself to the tzitzis in that way, when it comes to me giving a teichacha to somebody, when it comes to me giving rebuke to somebody, but I can take my. You okay with it, Sasha?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the harp strings. How many strings harp has?
Oh, a harp normally we learned has 5. David HaMelech's harp had 5, connected to the 5 books of the Torah, the 5 books of Tehillim. Right, we learned that. But we're talking about the harps of La'asid.
Right.
There's going to be something of Chesed, so it's going to have 72. Could you imagine how beautiful that's going to sound? Who knows, right? You'll need Mashiach to be able to play such an instrument. Regular musicians couldn't play such an instrument. 72 string, what they know what to do with it, right? Good? Yeah. Interesting idea. Interesting, right? Let's see now. Because tzitzis, the whole idea of tzitzis is rebuke. How is it rebuke? Because why have we learned? It gives us rebuke in such a special way, in this way of chesed. Look, can you listen to this? Listen to this. So we said that the tzitzis is tcheles, which is tachlis, right? That's all. I'm going to try to connect you all the lessons now. The tzitzis, you look at it as tcheles, the same letters as tcheles is tachlis, right? So that means the tzitzis is giving me teichacha. Why? The tzitzis is letting me remember, wait a second, all these things I'm involved in, I got to stop doing. So the tzitzis is actually giving me the teichacha in that sweet way of chesed of the 72. Unbelievable. Ki tzitzis hei bechinas teichacha. Shemaichichin es adam shemekayem mitzvaysav yizbarach v'lo yosa achat taivas libay ve'ena. Like it says in the Parsha of Tzitzis. What does it say? V'loisa suru achay elevavchem v'achrei einechem ashatem zoynim achreim, right? So that's what the Tzitzis is there for. To guide me in the right way to fulfill the mitzvahs of Hashem. Like we just quoted the pasuk. If you see them, you'll remember all the mitzvahs of Hashem. And then how do we remember all the mitzvahs of Hashem? Let's review one more time, because the tzitzis has 32 strings altogether, 8, 16, 24, 32, the 4 corners. And that's gematria Lamed Beis. Lamed Beis is 32, and the last letters in the Torah, the last letter in the Torah is a Lamed, and the first letter in the Torah is a Beis, and there you have 32, and that's a U'isa Ma'aseh Yischatem, it's called Mitzvahs Hashem. You'll be able to remember all the mitzvahs of Hashem. I'm just reviewing all the things all the time so we can get, so maybe maybe I'll remember it. Maybe I'll remember it. All right, and if I remember, maybe you'll help me remember it too. Maybe you guys will help me remember it. That's what we're trying to do here. Ki mitzvahs Hashem azisa ma'asav leitzorach levavchem. Kumei shamar b'seinu zal. Lefi she'techeles doime layam. Oh, look at this. The tcheles is compared to the yam. He's quoting the Gemara in Menachos, okay? The tcheles is daima to the yam. It's like the yam. In the same way we said, we learned this so many times, and we'll repeat it again, so I could possibly remember it. The yam. When you look at the yam suf, you see the yam suf, and all you see is the blue. Well, here in Eretz Yisrael, Baruch Hashem, you see a blue yam suf. You go to New York, you see it looks green. Everything is green. Everything's wrong. But anyway, either way, it's all polluted. It's the example for the place, right? You see these polluted places, you know that the place is polluted, right? I'm sorry, Chevra, I'm sorry. I'm just biased there at Yisrael, I'm sorry. Anyway, so you see the Yam Suf, you see the blue, it looks beautiful, or you see the green, okay, whatever. Either whatever you're looking at, but you see the main thing is to know that there's so much inside there. There's a whole world going on inside that Yam Suf. There's a whole world, and with all the fish and the plants and everything going on in there. It's unbelievable. And we don't have any idea what's going on in there. We have no clue. but we know Hashem is running it, right? Doimel Yam, v'Yam doimel Rakia, and the Yam is compared to the same color as the Rakia, the heaven, the firmament, the heavens. You look at the sky; it's blue. Baruch Hashem. V'Rakia doimel Kisei HaKavod, and the Rakia is compared to is the same, is the example of the Kisei HaKavod, the same color, and that's how you can always remember. That's how you can always remember from the tzitzis, the tchelis, and that's when the tchelis can give a person teichacha in that sweet way, because it's connected to the chesed, because it's connected to the Rabbeinu Shalom, which is Mekay Moshe Laila. And then we know when we look at the tzitzis, we could grab onto the kisei cover like we learned in 2 lessons ago. Nimsa. Shatzitzis nitna kidei lahaskir leichiach es adam shelayosa acha li b'veina. The whole mitzvah of tzitzis was given us in order to help us, to guide us, not to go after the desires of our heart and our eyes. That's the whole idea. That's the whole thing at tzitzis. It's there to mamish guide us. It's a great fortification. Rak yekayim is kol mitzvahs Hashem. Rather, we should fulfill all the mitzvahs of the Rabbeinu Shalom. Hainu. As we just figured out, the tzitzis is 72, which is gematria of chesed. So tzitzis is the whole idea of tzitzis is chesed. It's a chesed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us these tzitzis. We should never look at the tzitzis, oh, you have to wear these tzitzis. No, it's an honor to be able to wear the tzitzis. It's a present from the Rebbeinu Shalom to help guide us in the right way. That's how we have to view the tzitzis. Not that why I did this, it's that. No, it's a schus. It's a schus. Shehu bechinas kol ha-mechiach. That's the voice that can give out the teichacha. And that's how it can give out the beautiful reach. So we're saying not that it'll chas v'shalom do something bad, but it'll be able to be done in the proper way. So again, if a person connects to his tzitzis, if a person actually understands the value of the tzitzis, and he understands that the tzitzis is the numerical value each on the string is 72. Why is it 72? Why? In other words, how did we work out that the tzitzis are all these different things that who would ever have known? How would anyone know that tzitzis is 72? And the other is connected to Sfira Saimer is 49. You know, all these different denominations we can make from the strings themselves. The tzitzis, you see how awesome they are. And then the tzitzis, so when you understand now, based on this lesson, that the tzitzis is mamash a chesed. So, and it can give a person the teichacha for themselves, that they shouldn't knock themselves down, that they could get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this is a very important thing to, what? Yeah, no. This is a very important thing to understand, that it again, and again, during his Baidus, we really have to know this, that you never do anything, you never say anything, you never put yourself in a bad place. In other words, we have to understand that sometimes if a person knows he has something inside of him to discuss, so he has to, push it aside, and he'll deal with it another time when he's in the right frame of mind. In other words, if you're not in the right frame of mind, you can't deal with certain things, right? Because the whole idea of his Baidus is to talk to the Rebbeinu Shalom to lift the person up, not chasson to bring the person down. So the person knows at a certain day that some things are going on, and the person's mind is mebulbul. He doesn't have clarity, and then he has to discuss with the Rebbeinu Shalom a certain thing that he did. So maybe put that on the side and discuss that tomorrow. Don't discuss it today, because if you discuss it today, when the person's in that bilbul, it'll wind up bringing him down. It'll bring him to different thoughts. It'll bring him to the wrong things, and he's maybe not holding this. You have to understand it. The same what we're learning over here. Or the person can just look at his tzitzis. The person can look at his tzitzis, and then the tzitzis will be the chesed. And he'll understand that really anything he went through is really part of the chesed Hashem. Just to see how he would deal with it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes us do certain things sometimes, I mean, I don't happens to me. I'm sure it happens to everybody. You just turn around, you wound up, you did something. Wait a second. How? Why? Did it ever happen to you? You wind up doing something you don't understand, right? I don't understand. But again, that's the whole point. These things are tests from the Rebbeinu Shalom. How am I going to deal with it? Am I going to be angry? Am I going to this or that, the other thing? Or I'm going to say, oh, Rebbeinu Shalom, I realized I made a mistake. I forgot. And we said that's the whole thing we learned about a carbon. Remember, we learned about a carbon. The carbon has no das, right? What's the person has? He forgets what's going on. He has a hesach hadas, right? The person has a hesach hadas because he has that. He forgets. He has that hesach hadas, and he's like an animal at that time because the animal also doesn't know. The animal also doesn't know. So that's why the Torah tells you, okay, so you had a hesach hadas, so you did this thing wrong, so go bring an animal. Because you acted that way of an animal. So you have to do that, right? You understand? So we're saying here that you see how the Torah really, all the mitzvahs and all of the things are so beautiful to help us, really put us in the right mind frame to serve the Rebbeinu Shalom. So let's look at base. We have a few more minutes, Chaver. Can we go a little further? Yeah? Okay. What?
I'll ask later. Like, on the practical side, like on what you said.
So ask.
On the practical
Yeah,
side,
please.
When I should not bring up my misdeeds or like problems in front of a...
No. If the person has a misdeed, he did something wrong, right? So we learn that, in his baitis, you're supposed to take that time and say you're sorry to the Rebbeinu Shalom for it. But the person has to be honest with himself and know where they're holding it that day. In other words, at that moment, let's say you make his baitis every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't know, whatever, okay? 5 o'clock in the morning, you're making his baitis. Till 5 to 6, you make his baitis. I'm just giving you an example. So that morning, at 5 o'clock in the morning, there were so many things going on in his mind. He doesn't have a clear mind. He wanted to discuss something, but he doesn't feel that he can at this moment because it'll knock him down. So no problem. So maybe mark it down. Make a mental note from it. Make a mental note, and then tomorrow I'll deal with it, or the next day I'll deal with it. I'll push off the. I'll what do they call it? Adjudicate? What do they call that? No. What does adjudicate mean?
No, that means
you push it off.
That makes it judgment.
Huh?
Adjudicates when you make a judgment.
Okay, no. So what does it mean to push it off?
You demur is one word. You put it in. I don't know. You set it aside. I can't give you the word.
Okay. You push it off. You don't have that judgment that day. You postpone the court date. You postpone. Maybe that's a good word we use. We use that. You postpone it.
I postpone till the time when I'm gonna.
When you know that you're in the right mind frame. When I'm in the right mind frame, I can deal with it. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling strong. I can deal with it. I can stand up to it at this moment. Then I can do it. You have to know. In other words, it's all about. In other words, these are just the different tools again to always guide me closer to Hashem, closer to my Aliyah, and not to bring me into a further yerida.
If I do it today, I'm going to end up feeling lousy.
But you have to know yourself. You have to know yourself.
If you're not in a good place.
If you're not in a good place, so then don't discuss that. Discuss something else. Talk about something else.
Yeah.
Talk about something else and don't discuss that. And then when you're ready, or maybe during your spiders, you'll get into the right mind, and then you can do it. But you have to know yourself. And you have to know what everyone knows what triggers themselves, right? We all know what our triggers that we have. And because we know our triggers, we have to be as sensitive to those triggers, and we have to know when I should or I shouldn't. Not saying that you won't deal with it ever. Not to push it off inevitably. No, but maybe I'm not ready for today. That's what I'm just trying to say. You understand? And again, but based on today's lesson, you can look at the tzitzis. Remember, the tzitzis is 72 chesed. So that can put you in the right good frame of mind right then and there. That can help put the person in that good frame of mind. But we're learning this little technique, right? That you put on the tzitzis because it's the first garment that we put on in the morning, right? You're getting dressed, you put on your tzitzis. The tzitzis, and you look at the strings. So then they can really jolt the person and put the person in a good frame of mind. Okay? All right, let's go weiter. Okay, base. Ki tzitzis heim bechinas kina shel Dovid. The tzitzis is the kina of Dovid HaMelech. Kamuva b'zayah kodesh, it's brought in the zayah b'tikun v'tikun. He tells you, okay, v'zeh bechinas mikenaf ha'aretz zemirois shamanu. Mikenaf. What's kenaf? From the corners, right? The corner. Like konaf, right? From the corners, zemirois shamanu. A song was heard, right? Shamanu. Kamuva b'divrei Rabbeinu Zal in Likutey MoHaran lesson Ches Ois Test. That was in last week's lesson. That was in Likutey MoHaran, the lesson that we did yesterday. All right. Mikenaf ha'aretz daika sheheim bechinas kanfei ha'aretz atzitzis. That's the idea of the kanfei atzitzis. The corners of the tzitzis is again connected to the arba kanfeis ha'aretz. Right. Arba kanfeis is connected to the arba kanfeis of the aretz, of the earth. Misham daika heim kol zemiros v'shiros bechinas zemiros shemanu, and that's what it was. Dovid HaMelech, he had his kinnor. Dovid HaMelech was mamish connected to his tzitzis. Dovid HaMelech was connected to the kisei HaKovod. Of course, Dovid HaMelech was connected to the kisei HaKovod. He's the fourth regel. He's the fourth leg of the kisei HaKovod, the Merkavod. That's Dovid HaMelech, right? Okay, kichutei atzitzis hey mechinas a chut shel chesed, as we just established, right? The chut of tzitzis is 72, which is gematria of chesed. Shaleyem yisnagei nashir. Through them you can sing, this song can be sung. This song can be played through the tzitzis. Again, when you recognize that the whole thing of the tzitzis is connected to Dovid HaMelech, is connected to the Shir Shel Osid, or the Shir of Mashiach Tzidkenu. If you recognize that, so then you can start to sing that song, you can connect to it. And it's not simple, but it's not so stam that the tzitzis are strings. Why are they strings? So on a kinar you have strings, on a guitar you have strings. It's the same idea. Tzitzis can actually mamish be a song. It's a song. Shemisham nimshachim kol hazemiros v'shiros, all song and all melodies. And all song can come from the tzitzis. Ki gam kol hazemiros v'ashiros v'anigunim, because all of the melodies, the songs and the other kind of songs, shel achshav kulam nimshachim me'ashir. All the song that we have, all the beautiful nigunim and all the beautiful songs that we have by all of the wonderful Jewish musicians that we have, these beautiful songs that we have, it's all coming from where? The future. It's all of the future. Ki gam kol hazmiros ishbachas nigunim shel achshav kulam nimshachim me'ashir hanal. From that shir, from the 72, from that shir, from the chesed, that's 72. Shehu hashir shel osid. That's the shir shel osid. Lovely.
Oh, you need one more.
Oh.
You need one more.
Okay. He's good?
Yeah.
Shir shel osid. Okay. Hanigun shel achshav kulam nimshachim me'ashir shehu shir shel osid sheyisnagen alachut shel shivim ushtayim himim. From that time that the song is going to be from that 72 string, how do you say it? That 72 string kinar. Hanal shu bechinas chut shel tzitzis. This is really our chutim. This is really our chut. Is connected to 72. Is connected to that song. So really, the tzitzis is connected to all song. Connected to all song. The song that we have now, and all the song that we have now is really connected to the song of the Asid Lavai of Dovid when Mashiach Tzidkenu is going to come, B'kara B'yameinu, Emirtz Hashem. I think so. We'll stop over here. Any we have any questions or any comments? No? No, so now you understand that the tzitzis is chesed, right? Unbelievable. Tzitzis is chesed 72. 72, and then we'll establish that in the future there's going to be that kinar of 72, and the tzitzis is 72, which is the chesed. And then when you look at the tzitzis, it's the song of all songs, because it's connected to the shir shel hasid, And all song is connected, all songs that we have today are connected to that Shir Shalasid also. And then the main thing is to understand that when we have to give teichacha to ourselves, sometimes it's the hardest because, a person to be honest with themselves, that they made a mistake, we don't like that. Some people don't like to, admit their faults, right? But if a person can understand that it's really all part of the Chesed Hashem, his whole life and everything that transpires in his life is part of the Chesed Hashem. And he can thank Hashem for everything in his life, whether the things he understands and the things he doesn't understand, just to thank the Rabbeinu Shalom. And thanking the Rabbeinu Shalom is connected to that Chesed. Is connected to the Chesed, which is the 72 of the 72 count from the tziztit, which is connected to that Shir Shalasid. And everyone have a wonderful day, Kol Tuv.